Well, we're going to start this off. This is Dawn Rickaba, your host of Property and Paper Live. This is Dawn with NoteQueen.com, where we talk about anything having to do with owner financing and notes. So if you're listening, whatever venue you're listening, please like, subscribe. And if you want to join live and ask your own questions or you have a scenario, you're wondering what to do, please go over to NoteQueen and just sign up, subscribe to my list, and you'll get the automatic invitations. But at any time you want to know when the next one is, we do these twice a month. You can go to propertyandpaper.com and you'll be led to the next upcoming registration form. So that's another way to engage. So this morning, I don't know about you guys, it seems like the world keeps getting a little crazier and crazier all the time. And so it seems like we really need to, focus on just the basics. At least that's what I do. And then focus on what I want to create out of it and where I see opportunity and how do I make my own family, my own extended family, make them resilient. If you know that you have a hot potato that you want to talk on during this call, and we'll make sure to get to you. But I'm going to go on right now and just share my screen for a second. Okay, so one of the many hats, like some people, I still, after all these years, seriously, I don't have my 10-second elevator pitch. I don't know what I do. I think maybe sometimes I'm just a mirror, in this note investing and real estate space, creative real estate, I'm just a mirror. That's what I am, because whatever comes to me, I just mirror back what that situation needs. Because once you understand the secondary market for notes, you can just solve problems in so many ways. Because if you understand notes, well, you know that notes came from an owner financed real estate transaction. And if you know a little bit about real estate, you see how they all flow together. So when someone brings me something, it's like the ER. It's the ER kind of, when I was an ER nurse, this is what I like is the ER style of the note investing and owner financing world, because whatever comes through the door, I know I have 2 or 3 different ideas of how I could work with that. So, and when I'm working with people, everyone's saying you gotta do coaching and you gotta do high-end coaching. And, I'm open to learning and growing, but honestly, guys, it's not really downstream for me. I don't know if I have blocks or whatever, but what I know I really can do is I can make and save people thousands or even tens of thousands or sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the situation. If they bring me a situation and, lots of times we can just put it together in the way that's needed. So what does the Note Queen do? Well, sometimes the Note Queen is just a regular old property buyer. And I'm working on a little report that, and a little tutorial that I'm going to put together, and Kathy's here too. But this of how I make offers and why I think and why I say sometimes that buying property with owner finance real estate can be the fastest and easiest way to a note portfolio. And I plan to explain why I say that in this little tutorial that I'm working on, that if you're on my list, you will get notified when that's done. But anyway, in this case, I am putting on the hat of a real estate buyer. That's what I'm looking at. A wholesaler brought me a deal that they couldn't close cash. And so, Don, I know you have a lot of creative ways to put things together. I know you do this seller financing thing like nobody's business. So see if you can make something out of this. And, hey, pop me some money if you end up closing it. And I said, sure thing. No worries. So anyway, this seller was asking $250,000 cash, and which is for a housing in this area is very good. The problem is it's a mobile home, 1968 mobile home that has no title. No title, can't ever get a title. You'll never be able to get a title to convert it to real property. So it's on the secured tax roll. But what the people did is they built like stick built stuff around it. So it actually looks like a really nice little 3-2, but there's no title to it. So basically I'm buying land, and I can't, as far as I know, I guess I didn't exhaust every resource. As far as I know, I can't insure the property, but I would like it. It would rent. I don't think I could in good conscience sell this to someone else knowing I can't give them clear title. This is like, hey, rent it out until the thing falls apart, you scrape it and you rebuild a stick built, or you put another manufactured on there. So that's my thinking going into this. So I don't really want to pay all cash because that's too much, that's a lot of risk, and it doesn't pencil out, right? It doesn't pencil out for me given the circumstances. So what was I willing to do? So this is one example of, okay, option one, I'll give you $471,000. You're only asking this, but you need to give me some time. I said, I'll give you $12,000 up front, and you'll get 30 payments of $1,274. So that's her carrying the whole fully amortized note, and I believe I would carry it this long, as it would go to my family, and they'd probably do it because, like I said, there's limited disposition or exit strategies with this one. Option two, I said, if you need a little bit more money, and so I'm just throwing things out there, not knowing what's going to stick, right? And if a buyer or seller picks one of these or says, I like this about this and I like this about this, can we do some sort of a hybrid? Then I have something to work with, right? Because there's 1,000,001 ways to put a deal together. Like, no lie. Actually, I sent her more like 6 or 7 through our email exchanges, options, different ways to put it together. And I'll go into those in the little training. I'll show you like me pulling my gray matter, stirring it up, pulling it out and spreading it out all over the desk and trying to put the pieces together in all the ways I could think of. I mean, I really worked hard on this one. So,
may I ask you a question?
Yeah, who? Denny?
Yeah, Denny.
Hey, Denny.
Yeah, you never mentioned, is this a fee simple deal? Or
It's a mobile on land, and the problem with built on structures around it, so it looks stick built. Okay, it looks stick built on like 10,000, 8,000 or 10,000 square feet. It's a decent size, right?
You have the parcel ID.
That's the land. So the only thing that is titleable is the land. So there's no title and no ability to get title or to convert the mobile to the secured tax roll. Okay, so
you wanted to.
Yeah, so I'm just saying this because, and I went over to Mobile Home Division and researched what was the last person. Guys, there's no one even paying personal property taxes on it. They've lost track of it. I think since 2015, the last people that I guess they lived in Utah and now they died.
Well, they pay a DM.
Yeah, they normally do, but in this case, I'm telling you, it's off the record. It's in like weird zombie land. So really unique. So all I'm looking at this is a long buy and hold as a rental, because in good conscience, I have lots of people that would like, oh, I'll owner finance this. I'll get it under contract and then I'll owner finance it to someone as a home. But how can I do that when I can't give them clear title, right? So I'd keep it as a rental. So until I need to just wipe it down and start over, right? Years down the road. To me, that's what I'm thinking of it. Anyway, there's probably more ways. And then the other option, I'm just saying, okay, I'll give you now to get her price, right? To get her price and more, I need terms. I need some time. The more time you can give me, the more you're going to get for your property. Option 2, if you want more upfront, I'll tell you what, I'll get you out in 5 years. Again, I may have to depend. This is just for information purposes. Like, I don't know if I would have actually executed this because the whole titling and insurance prospect probably I would have to clear my insurance conversation in my head before I even do this. But what this is basically, okay, I know you want 250 and 12 isn't very much, but how about 4 times that much or 5 times that much? How about you get 64,000 up front and then there's a 5-year balloon and you'll get this. So you're getting pretty close to your cash, but a lot more up front. Your price, 230. And so what did I do here? What do you think I did here? Actually, so here's the secret. I'm not putting any more than 12,000 down. So where did the rest of the money come from for the 64,000? Any guesses? So
The lady?
Pardon?
Did it come from the owner?
No. So what I would be doing here is having one of my co-investors that invest with me all the time, I would have them buy a 5-year partial for the balance, right? So sometimes people don't need all the money, or if there was like some blended amount where, hey, I like your option 2, but I actually need to get like at least $400 a month. You know, they don't need the whole $1,230, here's my payment, $1,200, $1,300. I don't need that, but I do need $400 a month. I just have to have 4,000. So basically then I'll redo the numbers and the seller would get their 400 and what's left over, I would sell a front end partial to an investor. The numbers would change clearly because they can't bring as much money to the table. The 52,000 that would make up the difference, right? And then besides calculating yield here, just remember that I always have to reduce closing costs and any other pad that I need. So if you're trying to figure out what's that yield, you're never going to exactly figure out what it is, but you can get close, but when there's anyway, I'll go into that in this little thing I'm putting together here soon. But anyway, so that's an option. So option 3, I said, look, I feel bad for you. She's like, no, if I don't get this much money, then I'll not be able to buy what I need. And it's sad. It's like, you hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the market does not care what you need. The market is the market. And so she was in dire need of imminent cash. She had almost no food in the house, couple gallons of gas in her tank. She wanted to leave town because all bad stuff had happened here. And so I'm trying everything I can think of to get her quick cash and manage all the risk reward sorts of things. Right. So anyway, the other said, okay, look, if you can give me some time though, how about I'll just fix up your property? I can't fix the titling issues. Nobody can at this point. I exhausted that. I'll fix it up. I'll put in the capital and so that we can list it with a realtor, because you think that I'm being mean, not giving you what you want, but let's just see let's fix it up and get it so that it has mass exposure to see who's willing to pay the most for this property, even with the things that are wrong. And basically how I would do that is I would use a trust vehicle to protect me. So I fix it up and then she decides she likes to stay there. That wouldn't be good, right? We already have to know that there's an executed agreement to sell. And I get my expenses back plus interest with a built-in hard profit, and I'll just leave the rest to that person. So this is 3 of probably really 7 or 8 that I gave her. But anyway, I just wanted to bring up that's the hat. That's a hat if I'm buying the property and I want to buy owner finance properties, right? That's one of my things I really want in this market. And if I was wearing a different hat, and too bad I don't have my cute little cowboy hat right now, I could put it on. But if I was the note buyer hat, let's say one of you brought this deal, or someone listening out there, you say, I want to buy owner finance property too, but lots of times the seller wants more of a down payment. I have no down payment, or I have a small down payment, but they're willing to carry if they can get a little more cash at closing. Then I'll come in and say, yay, let me help you put this deal together, and I'll buy the front end partial to bring the cash to closing, and in a way that makes it affordable for the buyer and also minimizes the discount for the seller, if that makes sense. So those are just things that I wanted to kick off this morning with, and we'll go as I'll just leave it over to you guys. If you want, I'll get back here, stop sharing. And what do you, yeah, part sale of the note. Yes, a partial, Alex. So anyway, that's how knowing the note business can make you a better real estate investor, because you have like a lot of different ways. And I'm going, how can I simplify instead of like all this stuff I know how to say and the big words and stuff like that? How can I just say it's this much money now, this much per month, and this much in 5 years? Try to really simplify it. And if they can pick one, then great, I can work with that and we can noodle it around. And so what I like is that my investors that I would bring in for these partials to partner with me on these deals is that it's very secure. And so I'm very the people are usually retired. They need that income. They're risk averse. And so I keep them below land. Like, this is clearly way below land value, what someone would bring in on that example, right? So land value is probably 150. I don't know, 150, something like that. So I want someone in at well below 50% of the, so ITV, investment to value. That means what money you have secured by that collateral, it's only a small fraction of what the actual property is worth. That way, it's really hard to lose money. And so that's the way I like to play this game. So there's a lot of resilience. See, resilience. And if the person can wait, then they get not only what they want, but sometimes far more. And I really wish she would have taken the payments, because actually what she needs is monthly income that doesn't go away. Because I guarantee you, most people that get in desperate situations, they get a lump sum of cash, and in a year or less, it's gone. They're just not used to managing large sums of money. So actually, I feel like it's protecting people from themselves and forcing them to have a privately made pension. You know, it's not forcing them, but it's inviting them. You know, it's a good for them to not have a big lump sum of money. Yeah, go ahead.
On that first option, was that going to be a 30-year loan?
Yeah,
Balloon payment or?
Yeah, that was going out full 30 years, because to me, this will be a rental in my family for a long time. And then when it's crumbling or it burns down or whatever, I scrape it and start over.
What do you think you could have rented that for?
I think I could have, yeah. So I think I could have rented it for like, I don't know, 16, 17, maybe 18 even. So it would have carried itself, which is all I would have needed. I just want the property to carry itself. I don't need a...
There were no real estate taxes because it went dark, basically, as far as that goes. You didn't have to pay.
Oh, you know, on the secured tax roll, the land as land.
How much was that? Do you know how much?
Gosh. Yes, I do know. It's in my head. It was basically like $100 a month. So 1,200 in that range. And then it wasn't even to be found and couldn't even get back on the chattel roll, which is weird. But I don't know. What would you guys have done? You know, I pulled my hair out trying to think of things, because I really did want to create a solution. But maybe I dodged a bullet, because you just never know. If it would have burnt down right as she's getting out, I gave her a few days to get out. I mean, it would have been a mess. You know what I mean? It could have been not so fun. But Ken, to your point, let's say I'm paying her 12, 13. So let's call it I'm in at 15 and I can barely squeak out. Actually, I'm losing money carrying it, except for the benefits of, I can't get insurance, Sue Ellen, because I don't have title. And maybe they would have done something for me. I don't know. I didn't exhaust the insurance conversation yet, but it was a high risk. So I was just trying to figure out, what could I do? Can you
And you also
unmute?
look at what kind of person is going to rent that place, meaning that what kind of, what kind of income that they would be making? Would they be higher risk of possibly burning that down or liability because you don't have insurance?
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. It would be probably someone, I'd have to think about it, Ken, because maybe I'd have to do something where it's like a lease option potentially. I don't know, because I want someone to have a home, like a homeowner mindset. Maybe I'd explore something like that. So, Ellen, what do you mean by if you have a financial interest, you can seek it? Can you unmute or no?
Yeah, hi. You could also put it in the contract that they have to carry insurance and provide proof every month, otherwise the contract's nullified. And if you want to, you can provide the money for it. It's just that you have to be named as the payee, secondary payee.
Okay, I don't think she has insurance right now because
Yeah, but you can require it with you as a financial interested party.
Okay, thank you, but
As additional payee.
yeah, but what I'm wondering is who's going to insure this where I'm the named insured, but I don't have title to it? How does that work? They're going to insure something I don't know. I just based on financial interest. So I can get insurance.
Insurance companies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the one I have for I have a vacant house. I had vacant houses.
Yeah.
And other states.
Right.
And yeah, but our company had title. But if you require the owner to have it and you just say you're an additional payee, there's a clause and I can't remember it, where the mortgagee can go on the insurance policy.
Well, yeah, I've done that lots where I'm either, I switch myself out as the mortgagee or additional insured, but there's no existing policy. And this is a situation where, and I like your idea, thank you. In other circumstances, that would be great to know. In this case, she doesn't have two nickels to rub together, basically, right? So, I mean, it was all I could do not to go, honey, let's go shopping. You guys need to eat. You know, she had her teenage daughter. I'm just like, it was so hard for me just not to go in caretaking mode. Here's five.
What's the value, Don, of the property?
That's what I don't know, Ken. I wouldn't know until we fixed it up, put it on, like it doesn't have a heater. It needs all new flooring. Their heater busted. And it's been fine because it's hot during the summer here. So I don't know. That's the thing I don't know. To me, the value is only as a long-term thing. And I would have to put it on the MLS to see who would take it in its, with all of its hairiness. It's a hairy deal,
What is the size of the land?
Oh, it's a good, seems like it's like a quarter to third acre, like 10,000 square feet. It's a good lot in a decent area where there's a lot. It's a subdivision with a lot of mobiles on land. There's some stick builts thrown in there too. But anyway, it's good to know. Thank you, Sue Ellen. I appreciate that. Any other questions on this, or anyone else have something they want to ask or go over? Ken, how's it going with your, have you decided to,
No, the foreclosure sale probably won't be for another 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
So I'm just waiting, but I'm definitely going to be bidding on it if there's no bidders, then obviously I'm not going to bid. We'll just get the property, but I'm probably willing to go to probably just under $1 million.
That's so interesting to me. You must see this. Okay. Cause I just, last week, like corporate, especially California, commercial corporate bankruptcies are up a lot. Commercial real estate is dicey, and here you're willing to bid. Do you really think someone would bid more than, if you say it's worth 1.2, you're in it at 8? I mean, someone would have to be willing to pay more than 75. Like you're in it at what, 70 cents? What would that be? 67? Basically 2/3 the value. I would be so shocked if someone came in cash in this climate to bid above, to bid above your opening.
I mean, it's a building that's in good shape. There's tenants in there currently. And like I say, conservatively, it's worth 1.13 to 1.5.
Okay, so you actually came up on that. Okay, well, I get you now. I thought like 1.2 for a 1.2,
That was
1.2
what it was
million.
worth 5 years ago, when it was appraised 5 years ago.
Right.
Now, I know the market's changed, but keep in mind, this is an office building, but more of a retail office, meaning that like there's a chiropractor
Oh,
in one of the units. They can't work at home. You know,
right.
it's one of those buildings where you're probably going to have people who really can't work at home. And it's not a huge building. It's about 5,000 square feet. So it's not like, and each office is about around 1,000 square feet. So it's fairly easy to rent. And it's in a residential area too, by the way, which is another, I think, a positive.
Oh, right. Right. Okay. Yeah, you know what you're doing, Ken. You're smart. I just in my mind, I don't think I would bid even if I was, I don't know, I wouldn't bid on a commercial building more than what you're owed, your opening bid on
But
that.
I have like 3 or 4 commercial buildings in the area, so I know that market.
Right.
And
See,
because I've had renters the last 5 years, I haven't had a vacancy, even in the COVID, area and stuff. So for me, it's a no-brainer. It's well worth over $1 million. And if we had to bid even at 950, it's still got 300 plus thousand minimum conservatively.
right, but okay, and I'm just playing devil's advocate for the education of the audience right now, but as a percentage drop, that's not a big percentage drop before you're at break even. Right? Like if it was worth the 1.3, they come in at $1 million, it doesn't have to drop more than 25% before you're lucky to get your cash back out. Now on terms, if you're willing to offer terms, you got all sorts of creative options, like you know how to do, Ken. But just for the average person, a percentage drop is not, it doesn't take long for 300,000 to disappear. We just had what in the market yesterday, almost 3 million or billion, I don't know, million, billion, quadrillion, gazillion disappear from the stock market just in one day this week, right? So it is just saying percentage wise, it sounds like a lot of money, and it would be on a single family in median price home. That's a lot of money, but as that would be a high percentage. So
Yeah, my idea would be that there is, and I'm not sure, I think the person who we're trying to foreclose on has got about 2,000 square feet of that office space. I don't even think they're there anymore. So I would go in and re-rent that space, and the net operating income is going to determine the price. It's not like I have to worry about what property is sold next to me. It's all about the net operating income. And in that
Gotcha.
area,
gotcha.
it's just minutes from where I live. I know what the rent would be. And like I said, if you can get something for $900,000 somewhere in that area, and it's worth 1.2 to 1.5, to me.
No,
and also to keep, if we had to bid, we're talking about bidding like $50,000 to $100,000 to get that. It's not like we have to
Right.
come up with a lot of money either.
Right. Exactly. Well, Ken, I'm not questioning you. I'm just teaching people how I think and questions you need to ask yourself, because Ken can answer his questions. He knows, he's been through it in his head. He's worked it out. Sue Ellen, Ken, I don't know if you can see in the chat, Sue Ellen wants to just make a comment if you don't mind.
Sure.
Hi, Ken, et al. We're just going through a very major miracle of a foreclosure. I don't want to go into it now. It's pretty complicated, and I want to see if Dear Dawn would give me a few minutes offline to discuss it if it's of interest to everyone else on the call. But my brilliant foreclosure attorney, because of my concern for someone coming on the courthouse steps and taking the deed, out from under us, and I'd lose the upside on what it's worth versus what the amount owed is on the note, because we went into usury country with the penalties.
Yeah.
Because even though it was a commercial note, there's a maximum of 60% interest that can be applied per year. So I was really,
Yeah. Sue Ellen. Okay.
Attorney, I'm sorry. So my attorney advertised the foreclosure, and he did not put the amount owed. What he did say was what the original amount of the note was, and then he said plus interest and penalties. So nobody readily could tell how much they have to bring to the courthouse steps to buy it. And he's not obligated to call people back who are calling to inquire about what the number is. So that saved me, and nobody bid on it. So I was able to get the deed. And it was a huge amount. It was worth 1.2 million. And the amount he would have had to have advertised was 300. So I got the deed. And there's more to it, but I was just going to suggest the advertisement is also something to
Oh
consider.
my God. Does
To
that,
preserve your profit on the upside.
is that defined by state? Because I can't imagine California letting that slide, like not
No, there's nothing
advertise.
wrong with it. I don't know anything about, this
Oh,
is in Georgia.
wow.
I don't know anything about other states, but
Oh,
it
shoot.
really worked. for
Hey,
us.
that's a little ninja trick right there, for sure.
It was part of the miracle.
Wow. So, well, good. But I think your loan origination amount was 75,000. Your opening
That's
bid,
correct.
your
You are sure.
your opening bid is 300,000. 60% return isn't good enough for Sue Ellen, man. She is
No.
going for it. She wants that.
No. And I have
Wow.
a subordinate loan I didn't have collateral on. And I'm gonna go after him for treble damages. We're up to 150 on that, and I'm gonna get 450 plus attorney's costs. Oh, I'm done with this guy. He declared bankruptcy the night before we were going on the courthouse steps.
Oh, how
Because
irritating.
he signed personally, but the idiot, the collateral deed is in another entity's name. It's not his personally, so he couldn't. He was trying to get it under bankruptcy to stop us from calling it, and we didn't. We called it, so he tried to get us there's another legal thing, like he wanted the court to reverse it. I'm like, oh no.
Oh, like a redemption period kind of thing.
No, this was
Or-
a legal violation. He's a former lawyer, so
Oh,
he's wacky. But
maybe you should never.
longer story.
You should deal with lawyers.
I don't want to comment. So I've learned about how to write my notes better and make sure that it's a penalty, not a rate increase, because that's 75,000. I had it as a rate increase. That's where I went wrong. Penalty on the smaller note is 2,000 a month.
So
he's
you could have kept the interest rate different, but penalties don't have the same, at least in Georgia.
Right. The maximum penalties is not usury.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yes.
Oh, you sneaky thing. You
Words.
sneaky thing. Okay. So anyone listening, if you just were lost in the last few minutes, don't worry. I mean, yes, note investing can get complex, but it can be also very, very simple. It doesn't have to get complex, but if you are going to deal, and like Sue Ellen is and other people, where you're just wheeling and dealing and notes and properties, yeah, you need help and you need to get smart and you need people on your team and all of that. So thanks for the share and the comments. That's some good juicy bits there. So anyway, yeah, I'll follow up with you afterwards, Sue Ellen. But okay, anybody else? We're at a little over, we got maybe another 20 minutes at the most, but if no one has anything going on, we can be done. Or Sue Ellen, if you want to talk about your deal live, I think, does anyone else have something that they really, really wanted to ask or get help with before I just have Sue Ellen keep going with this? Going once, going twice. Sold to Sue Ellen Tritt. You're back.
Okay, I'll just do one sliver, which might be very valuable to all of us on the call, and that is I've learned how to avoid allowing bankruptcy to gum up the works on the foreclosure side if that's a necessity.
Okay, that doesn't seem possible.
I could require the property to be held in an LLC of which I am a member, or my company is a member.
Mm.
And there's a clause if they do not perform that the shares are transferred immediately. So there's no need for a foreclosure. It's clean.
Oh my
The deed is
gosh.
clean. Yep.
And
There's a company that does this. I copied from them. This is not me. And they have a fund where they return about 20% a year.
gotcha.
Like them, yeah.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so I'm looking at that in my own notes that it would be smart to do that, to take it out of the personal realm where bankruptcy could apply.
And I
Because
would,
in my notes, I state bankruptcy is not applicable, but my lawyer said it's probably not going to hold up in court.
right. Now, but let's just to be clear, we're talking in the commercial sector, business purpose, not homeowners.
No, it could be anything. You can transfer a residence to an LLC. Nothing stopping you
Right.
from that.
Okay.
And
It's just,
commercial.
yeah. And then that gets, okay. It could really make sense in certain situations. You could also use a trust, land trust in the same way. But yeah, there's a lot of more moving parts to that, because then you got who's taking the mortgage interest deduction. Now you got another entity with a tax return and all these blah 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 blah. So
Well, the mortgage interest, if I may, if someone is not taking it, then the person you allow to take it is free to do so with the bank. Only one entity
Yeah.
can take the interest. So that's not a problem.
So you could say, so the member of the LLC could personally take it against, their own
Yeah.
personal tax return.
That's an agreement. That should be an agreement.
Oh, interesting. Okay, great. Yeah, that makes sense. But there's just another idea I didn't think of. I mean, trusts I've used to, but because when someone's not on title to the property, they have a harder time filing foreclosure. Now, we do know that if they have equity, even if even with contract for deeds, lease options, if they have equity, I forget what it's called right off the top of my head, but that you can be forced to foreclose anyway. But I guess that's just ideas for people to think of. This is not legal advice, by the way, for anyone listening. These are ideas to open your mind so that you can pursue within your state, with your attorneys, with your trusted advisors, right? This is for entertainment purposes only, but thank you for blowing my mind. Sue Ellen, I think those were very good comments. Alex says, I have a commercial property too, where my business partner is holding the note and the current tenant is 4 months behind on the note. Sold 3 years ago for $750 with a $250 down. That's great. They put 33% down. It's worth $1 million, and you're thinking of buying a portion of it. Alex, do you want to come on live, or do you want to follow up with me after the call in email? I'd love to talk to you about this, or if you have questions. You're thinking of buying. You're not trying to sell the note. You guys are going through foreclosure. Can you come on, Alex, or no? Or can you chat? Are you guys trying to sell the note, or okay, follow up with me afterwards. Very interesting. The business partner is holding the note. Tenant. So you want in on that, is what it sounds like. You want to buy into that, but yeah, it's a long story. All right, but it sounds like, you know what?
Okay, good.
On the horse.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm on a conference right now.
Oh, excuse me.
That's okay.
It sounds like you have a lot of room to make something work there, similar for what Ken was describing earlier on the call. So anyway, well, I think we can go ahead and wrap this up unless anyone has one last thing they want to ask or say.
Hey, Don, this is Dave.
Dave, hi,
Yeah.
welcome.
Hey, I had a question. I've got a rental property in Sacramento. It's probably worth about $550.
Mm-hmm.
Got a first lien that's about 4% interest. So I was thinking when I decide to sell it, I was thinking I would probably try to wrap it. And
Yeah, what's the UPB real quick while I'm taking my notes?
It's probably about 300.
So you owe 300 on it at 4%, fully amortized, long-term note,
Yeah.
no balloon,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a normal bank note. Yeah.
Gotcha. And it's a single family?
Yeah. Single family 4-2.
Nice.
So in listening to you and other note experts, they always say to try and get the interest rate like close to say 10%. So that if you need to sell the note later, you're not going to take a big discount, right? So, but if I run the numbers and I put in it's like 500K at 10% for 30 years, it comes out to be like 4,500 a month. And I'm just wondering, it sounds kind of high to me for a residential payment, but I'm just wondering what your thoughts are if you think.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it. This is going to be a great little thing to end on. Thank you for coming up on here. I'm going to take this down. Can you guys see my screen again? So basically, to make a deal work, Dave, is first you have to figure out what someone can and will pay for it. So let's get that number first. Your average person that would buy this, like, what's the going rent? What's the rent?
The rent's about 2,700.
Okay, so someone's renting this for 2,700. What's taxes and insurance?
It's probably about 3,000 a year.
So divided by 12 is, what are we, 250-ish?
Yeah. That's probably
So
reasonable.
let's just call it 3,000. Someone can only, maybe they'd pay more if they were buying, right? Because then they have deductions and things like that, and plus ownership. But so basically, what if they'd pay 10% more? Maybe so they can. Let's just pretend they can afford 3,000 for the principal and interest, and then they have taxes, insurance, maintenance, repairs on top of that, right? So let's just I would start with what is affordable. Now, of course, if someone puts down 50%, you see, but if someone who's regularly just putting down 10 to 20%, you have to go, what can someone afford? Otherwise, you're just waiting for a headache and you won't sell it anyway. So the more money you want, right, the less the price. So if you want your price, what's more important? What you get for cash flow? Are you going to sell the note? I would suggest no. To me,
Yeah, I wouldn't plan to sell the note. I was just concerned if for some reason the bank, called it somehow they realized that I sold the property.
Yes, that's a great point. You have to have your plan B and it has to be disclosed and you have to talk about it. You're the seller, there's the buyer. Listen, there's this loan in place and I'm going to leave it there, but there's a chance, even though we can make it so that it's, very, 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 very small chance that it'll get accelerated or called. But if it does, what are we going to do? You have an agreement. Okay, I'm refinancing, you're refinancing, I'm paying it off. What is the deal? You have to have that discussion up front and to be well capitalized to have options to deal with that, because you don't want to sell it to somebody and then the note gets called and then what? You got to foreclose on them? They got to force sell their house? What if the market's down 10, 20% right then? They could lose all the money that they put into it, right? All their whole life savings. This might be the biggest amount of money they'll ever scrape up in their life is to put a nice down payment down for you. So anyway, I'm getting too far in the weeds. But because I just want this for an example, and thank you so much again. So if you want 550, and let's just say they can put down, what are you thinking, 10, 20% or what?
Yeah, it's somewhere between 10 and 20. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's put 15% down. So we have an 85 note. So these are the things we know. They can't afford any more than this. That I might, right? Someone loses a job, short term, blah, blah, blah. So here's your note balance. And if you're going to amortize it, how many years do you have left on your underlying, just for kicks and giggles?
I think I've got 25 years.
Okay, so basically you're just going to amortize it, and then once the loan's paid off, or you can pay it off in aggressive manner, you're at 4%. So basically, and it's fully amortized, so a zero there. They can't afford more than a 6.65, basically call it 6.5.
Yeah.
That's all they can afford, right? So the higher the dollar amount, now it's because you're not thinking of, the main thing is not selling this note in this scenario. And you have to make it affordable. And what's your basis? Like, what did you buy it for?
Oh, I bought it for 225.
Okay, and how much money have you put in it over the years?
Probably 50.
So, okay, and you've been paid on it, so we're not even counting the rent that you've gotten. Let's just pretend you made a one-time 275, deal into here. Look, even though the face rate on the note might be 6%, you're making double that. You're for the cash you have in it, because you're getting, it's like, oh, I'm only getting this on my note. But most people, after they pay capital gains, they don't know how to make more than 5, 6, 7% on their money safely, secured by a property they know very well and they could take back if they had to, right? Not like the stock market,
Right.
that your stock market company crashes, you can't take over that company. You're going to probably, you have no control. So just something to think about, where why not take the IRS's money that you would have otherwise written to them and make interest on it instead. Right. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, that's just for kicks and giggles, right? To show you. But,
Okay.
anyway, does that kind of help? And then depending on
Yeah.
how much they have down, how much they can really afford, and you're going to have a licensed mortgage originator,
Yeah.
put this together to make sure that you've documented legally that they can afford it, with all the disclosures of the financing and all of that. So, but you can see, if I'm sure your loan payment is way less, right?
Yeah.
What you're paying. So if they could afford this payment right here, what are you paying? PITI. I mean, is it an impounded bank loan or no?
The property taxes are included in the payment. I think the payment is $16.75, and I pay the insurance outside of that.
Okay, so technically, but anyway, so let's just say, is it fair to say $1,500 or something? I know that they're gonna have to pay tax and insurance. Sometimes you don't want to be so bold on the insurance. You want to be careful how you handle it. But anyway, you've been renting it for, look at that. You could have positive cash flow of $1,500 and not be a landlord anymore, because you'd be willing to go from landlord to lender and simplify your life, do less, get more. Anyway, does that help, or any other comments?
Yeah, it gives me a different way to look at it.
Yeah, and then if you want to do a little deep dive or a quick thing, you can always hook up with me. I have options on my site to schedule one-on-one time if you want to just noodle down when you get, exactly to the point, or you want A to Z's help. Or, you know what, I have a little do-it-yourself sort of kit for people just like you. It's called Seller Financing for Power, Peace, and Profits. It's over on noqueen.com/shop. And it's a little book, audio, plus short little video course. So that might be something that people listening might want to know. And Sue Ellen says, yes, it's called a subject to, right? This is the big thing in the real estate investing world. Sub to. Hey, it's sub to, SUB2. It's really gangsta to say SUB2. But anyway, subject to the existing financing. Gosh, and I had someone telling me yesterday, now if you want a little brain twister right here at the end of the call, Alex, you distracted me with your comment. Okay, Alex says, anyone have experience using notes in a 1031 exchange? My experience is this: several times, the seller wants to do a 1031 exchange, but they get an owner carry offer. And so what happens is I help structure the note, and I buy the note inside of with the qualified intermediary, so that they end up with cash for their upleg. So if it's structured properly with a little help and foresight before it's inked, they can get really close to the cash value they wanted anyway. Even they can accept an owner carry offer, an installment sale, sell the note inside the exchange, and then have all cash for their upleg. So yes, please connect with me on that. But anyway, back to the twister. I was having a business lunch yesterday with someone in Reno, and they said, here's what I heard, Dawn. Now we were just talking subject to the property, like Dave brought up here. How about subject to on a note? How do you buy a note subject to the existing financing? Does that sound like the silliest thing ever? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, well, okay, well, this guy, he's teaching is that if you have a note and let's say you have it under contract for $80,000, you go to one of your investing partners and you borrow. You don't sell them a partial or sell them the note. You hypothecate the note. So you're borrowing money. He borrows $85,000 against the $80,000. And so because of the interest rate differential, he probably bought it at let's say a 12% yield, 13% yield, and maybe he's paying his investor 8%. But the investor's happy. Yes, I know that I'm paying more than the value of the note, but the property's worth 120. I'm okay, right? And then now that's not so extraordinary, fairly common. But then he goes and sells the note subject to his friends financing the note. He sells the note for, let's say, 95. And so it's like, I go, does the second investor know? How are they secured? Because how could they take an assignment of the deed of trust in public record if there's already a collateral assignment of beneficial interest in the public record? So anyway, my guess is a lot of it like, hey, we're a tight investing team. All the money rolls through, they keep the servicing. Servicing's not allowed to go out of this closed system. And so maybe they sold that at a different yield, a 10% yield, right? So then the guy's made $5,000 up front. He probably has a 2% spread. And I don't know, just wild, right? I mean, the things that you can do with this dance between property and paper are just mind blowing. Just lastly, interest rates. What do you, Sue Ellen's asking, where do you think interest rates? To be precise, she said, y'all. And that makes me want to put on my cowboy hat. And I'm so sad. It's way over there on the other side of the room. Where y'all think interest rates are heading short term? Well, I don't know. Pipe in. Yeah, pipe in. Who knows? Crystal ball. They say one thing. I don't know if haven't they said they're looking at lowering in September? But we have heard lots of things and we don't really know till we get there. So anyone want to share their thoughts? I think a lot of sellers are holding out. They don't want to sell until interest rates are down so they can get a better price for their property because buyers can actually buy their properties. Guess what? If you own the property free and clear or nearly so, or you're not shy about leaving your existing financing in place, you can be the lender and get your price for your property and make it affordable for the buyer. So what's more important? You have to decide cash now, cash every month, cash later, capital gains. Anyway, I get distracted with the comments, so squirrel, sorry about that. But anyway, you just have to figure out, and usually I need to talk to some for a bit, because if they bring me a thing where like, this is what I'm going to do. Sometimes people have come to our consultation meetings and they say, I'm going to do this. And by the time the end of the hour, our little deep dive is up, I've talked them out of it. So just because I'm in love with owner financing and notes and all this non-Wall Street ways to invest, mom and pop to each other, sometimes it's not the right benefit. So yes, you can have a title company, you can have an attorney, you can have a realtor that actually understands enough to like walk you through the practical steps that I outline in that seller financing book I was mentioning. But looking at it overall long term for your specific is something you can't just, there's not many people out that are just set up to look at that with you. Because even your financial advisor will say, well, just sell everything for cash and put it under management with me. I mean, they don't get paid to tell you to do owner financing. they don't make money. It's just more risk, uncertainty. They don't know, so there's a lot of self-education. But anyway, we are at the end of the hour. Thank you. I appreciate you all so much. You go out there, create financial solutions, just one mom and pop to another. I will catch you next time. Take care.